I'm Michael Laron, and this is the Writer's Journey podcast, where you get a window into the life of a working science fiction and fantasy author. I'm on a mission to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I share my progress and discover what inspires my books and how I write them. You can find the show notes for today's episode at michaellaron.com/podcast. This week, I'm giving an update on my work, and I'm answering your questions. Hello, and welcome to episode 25. I just celebrated my birthday as I record this, the big 3-1. Another year and a little older, but I didn't do much on my birthday. Birthdays are just another day for me, a day to drink tea, listen to jazz, and contemplate my life. And trust me, I'm not trying to be depressing, but it really is just another day, and I don't really put too much stock into birthdays anymore. But I did have something really cool happen on my birthday, and that's that Author Level Up reached 5,000 subscribers. I am shocked at how the channel is still growing, so thanks to everyone who's subscribing and supporting me, and I've got some really great videos in the slot, so be sure to check those out. In writing news, I'm in the process of developing my first information product. It's not quite a course, but it's not quite a resource either. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. I can't share what it is yet, but it's for writers, and it will help them a lot. I'll share more on that soon, probably in the coming months, as I plan to launch it in the near future if all goes well. So I'm also getting ready to gear up for law school. So as I record this, I'm about a week out from starting my classes for the fall. So I'm excited for that. I'm taking an insurance law course, which has to do with my day-to-day job, but I'm excited for the different opportunities and things that I'm going to learn for that. So the balancing act begins again because I've got to figure out how to balance writing, law school, and family and work and all that stuff. So I'll be talking about all of that on future progress report episodes. In marketing news, I'm making my first public appearances at speaking engagements this fall. On September 29th through 30th, I'll be in Cincinnati, Ohio for Indie Lab, which is a conference sponsored by Writer's Digest. I'll be representing the Alliance of Independent Authors, and I'll be speaking on how to build your platform and reach readers with blogging, podcasting, and online video. I'll also be sitting in on a couple of panels. Not quite sure what those are going to be yet, but they'll be fun. So if you're in Cincinnati and are attending Indie Lab, be sure to stop by and say hi. On November 6th through 8th, I'll be in Las Vegas at the 20 Books to 50K conference, sponsored by Michael Anderle and Craig Martell. I'll be speaking on how to balance writing with a full-time job. I love Vegas. I've been there many times, but never for a conference, so I'm really looking forward to this one. If you're going to be there, holler at me and let me know. So most of my month this month has been spent preparing slides and material for both conferences since they're coming up on me pretty fast. But it's definitely awesome to know that my work is paying off, and I'm excited about speaking in front of big crowds for the first time and seeing how I can improve my public speaking skills. We've got some listener questions this week, and they're actual listener questions. I actually had to send Oswald on vacation. So big thanks to S. Chipasula Perry, who emailed me a couple of great questions about writing, and we had a couple of back and forth emails, and I thought that this would be a great chance to answer some of the questions that she sent me. The first is, quote, "My biggest frustration with my writing is getting the words on the page. I have all of the outlines done, but my struggle is coming up with the words to start the story. How do you handle this?" So this is a common problem. After all, starting a novel is one of the most daunting things to do, especially if you fear the blank page. If you've done the work on the outline, it sounds like you at least have an idea of how your story is going to start. So a great technique I use is to think about the character and the problem that they're facing in that first scene. Get inside their head, describe simply how they're feeling or what they're experiencing. Let that be the first line. Another technique that works for me is to either go on Amazon or to your local library and go to any section and randomly pick 5 books. See how they start, first 2 or 3 pages or so. Pick the most interesting example and copy the style of the opening couple of paragraphs. Now, when I say copy, I don't mean plagiarize. Don't plagiarize or infringe on anyone's copyright, but just try to imitate the spirit. I often find that this is enough to at least get me going, at least for the first line or two. The second question is, quote, "When is a good time to collaborate on a project? Should you do it for your debut novel if you just want to get out there, or wait until you're established?" So I like this question too, and I think that the best time to collaborate is when you've found your own voice. I don't recommend collaborating on your first novel or your 10th, honestly. Get a few books under your belt and collaborate with someone who has a similar number of books out and who's in the same spot as you on their journey, maybe a little further ahead. I've collaborated on a series of novels. I wrote my Modern Necromancy series with my friend Justin Sloan. We both had a few books published at the time, and we had our own distinctive styles. Because we were aware of our writing voices, we were able to blend them together. If you aren't aware of that, you'll end up with a mess. To date, Modern Necromancy is one of my most commercially successful series. Readers have even praised Justin and I for how well our styles blended together, so much that they didn't even notice that there were two people writing. That's the goal you want to achieve, and that's hard to do if you're brand new. And the final question is, quote, I live in a town that doesn't have a writer's community as far as jobs, groups, events, etc. How do I find a community with like-minded people? Personally, I think that the best writers' communities are online. You might start at a place called K-Boards, which is a forum, or 20 Books to 50K, which is a Facebook group. Those are both great places to meet new authors. There are some trolls lurking in both places, but the moderators do their best to control them. Read the posts there, comment on a few that strike your fancy, find some authors on a similar wavelength as you, and then you could start your own group, like a mastermind or an email group or a support group or whatever that might be. I do think that the days of local groups are pretty much over. I've only ever had success with a local group once, and that's like 1 out of 50, so not a very high success rate. I don't recommend them unless you can find people who are truly motivated, don't have any of the traditional publishing myths in their heads, and they've actually published and they take their career seriously. In all the local groups I've been a part of, it's mostly writers that want to write, and I say want in quotes, but they actually never get around to it. And maybe that's a topic for another show, and that's certainly not a dig on all local groups out there, but I just have not had any success in finding anyone locally in any of the cities that I've lived in that are actually serious about writing. Anyway, thank you S. Chipasula Perry for your questions and for listening to the show. In other news, I found something cool to share with you guys. We had some really bad rains in Iowa this summer, and my basement flooded. And fortunately, the basement's unfinished, so everything's okay, and we didn't lose much. But as my wife and I were going through my old things, I found a box of old cassette tapes. Many of you know that I've had a lot of odd jobs over the years. Janitor, soda delivery guy, claims adjuster, auctioneer, etc. Well, one of the most interesting jobs I actually had was moonlighting as a therapist. Now, I've been told that I have a calming voice, and I'm good at building rapport with people. Many years ago, I found an ad on Craigslist for a company that does therapy sessions for high-risk clients. And when I say high risk, I don't mean like suicide or drugs or anything like that. I'm talking high risk to society. That's right, this company held therapy sessions for supervillains. When they heard my calming voice, they hired me on the spot and paid me $2,000 an hour. I helped a lot of bad guys become functioning members of society, and it's one of the crowning achievements of my life that I don't talk about very much. Anyway, I happen to have a recording from my therapy session with a villain called Wrathgeist the Destroyer. I diffused what could have been a very difficult situation for the galaxy. Check this out. Hello there. Could you pronounce your name for me again? I don't think I caught it.
My name is Wrathgeist the Destroyer, and if you address me as an equal one more time, I will rip you apart and feed your bones to the crows.
Well, that's a hell of an introduction. Wrathgeist, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Michael. Do you understand why you're here?
I got caught.
Yeah, big time.
I would do it all over again if I could.
The part where you obliterated a skyscraper or the part where you ripped a hole in the Andromeda Galaxy?
Both, human.
Okay, well, let's talk about that then.
It was glorious.
There are other things in the universe, Wrathgeist, that are glorious without, death. For example, just the other day I had a cup of jasmine tea. It smelled like grapes, and it was just a great experience, and it was just fantastic.
I enjoy tea very much. You have impressed me, human.
That's awesome, Wrathgeist. Tea really brings people together. I have some in my cabinet. I just bought a tea set, actually. How about we continue this session Gong Fu style?
I would like that very much. I prefer my tea crimson, infused with the blood of my enemies.
Why didn't I see that coming? Why don't we change topics? Have you ever considered alternatives to crime, Wrathgeist? You've been all over the universe, so would it be safe to assume that you enjoy travel? I hear Helsinki is nice this time of year.
Are you calling me weak?
quite the opposite. What I said was,
Rawr.
whoa, hey, Wrath Guys, I didn't mean to insult you.
Screw this therapy. Screw society. I will destroy it.
Hey, buddy, we're making good progress. Why don't you... Hey, stop! No!
Puny human.
Well, that didn't end quite like I thought it did. I could have sworn that I convinced him to patch a hole that he made in the time-space continuum. That must have been a different client. Anyway, I learned a lot from my short-lived time as a therapist. Probably not a job I'd take again. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed the show, here are a couple ways to help a brother out. If you're listening to this on Anchor, favorite the show. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, do me a favor and write me a review and share it with your friends. You can, of course, visit my website and learn more about my work at michaellaron.com. If you have a question, send me a voice message on Anchor and you just might hear it on the show. Next week, I'll be talking about the writing life. Until then, I leave you with a quote. Humility is the solid foundation of all virtues. Confucius.